Hello? Hi, I'm Brad. Um, so I overslept today. I was up kind of late last night because whenever I do these streams, for some reason, and it's just the way I am. Don't worry about it. But like when I know I'm about to do a stream, I like literally dig to the dig to the depths of hell to see if I can find like one more little thing. Um, Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But anyway, I overslept. So I had to get everything together for the stream, like literally the last 10 seconds. Like, and then and then I clicked the start streaming button, and OBS said I was dropping 100% of the frames. And you know what fixed the problem? I don't really know why, but I had my iPhone plugged in. If you've been on my recent streams, you know I actually loathe this thing. Like, I really hate it. But I had my iPhone plugged in, and when I unplugged it, for some reasons the streaming worked on OBS. I don't I don't know why that's a thing, but okay. Um yes. Anyway, so this stream is going to be. Let me just recap a little bit. So it was what was it? 2 weeks ago already? 1 week ago? Something. CES 2022 happened, despite it being like kind of like it for a while. CES really seemed like it was going to be like one of my streams. Like, they were just, everything was going wrong. It was just crazy, right? All these companies were pulling out. And really, I think CES did a really good job of how they handled everything, and it wasn't a huge event. Oh, it was huge, but like it wasn't as huge as normal, is from what I understand. And this was my first CES, so I went there and I kind of did a few. I was there, I was going around, figuring out what I wanted to look into. And I just want to talk a little bit about that experience. But and after we get through the CES stuff, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. We will talk about some neat aspects of it. We're going to talk about of course, what everyone expects is like, Valve, right? Like, I mean, there was a SteamVR beta update that released. It was the first SteamVR beta update of the new year. Before that, there was like nothing for a month because Valve employees were on holiday. I think Joe Ludwig was also feeling under the weather, so that probably slowed down some of the bigger stuff happening. But yeah, I was really excited because we got our first SteamVR beta update, and there were some new things. And during the digging of those new things, I found some interesting stuff. And I was working hard on a video for it. I was like, oh, this is good stuff for a video. I can make a whole video on this. But the more so I know I'm taking a long time talking about this, but the way I do these videos with the data mining stuff is I basically have like a committee of people that are honestly smarter than me. Like, honestly. I'm kind of like the figurehead of a bunch of work that the community does together. And we have people that do their own hardware stuff, like DIY. We have a lot of programmers. We have people that are part of the OpenXR, like actual, like the part of the work that's done for like OpenXR standard and stuff. So we got some really good people in the group that just like really want to give their input of what's going on. So I'll dig through the code, I'll point them out, and I'll be like, hey, this is related to OpenXR. Do you know what this might be for? And that person will be like, oh, this is what I think it is. And if they work closely with OpenXR, that's probably what it is. And just a lot of stuff like that. That's how we work. And usually when we find certain things, most people in the committee, like 90% of them, if they agree, or like, if we speculate all the same thing of what it means, I will throw that in a video, right? Like 90% of these smart people, they think this is what it means. So let's throw it in a video. But this time it was a little more controversial of all the things that we're finding. some people that would normally be like, hey, this is what this is, they're like, oh, I'm not sure we should really, I'm not sure if it's that, it might be this. And like, there was a lot more, not controversy, but just differing opinions. And then I'm just like, yeah, I don't want to throw out a full video out there when I don't really know. Like, we don't have, like, you know, we haven't come to a conclusion, right? So I pretty much canceled the video and decided I am going to do a stream. I am just going to lay what we found, and I'll explain some of the ideas we thought they might be for. And let you guys who are watching that part of the video or part of the stream decide yourselves, like, hey, yeah, that might be, that sounds like something, you know? So, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's what we're doing. But before we get through all that, the SteamVR stuff, which I know a lot of people are waiting for, I know it's like the main thing, but like, I have to talk a little bit about CES. Yeah, so CES happened, obviously, and it was interesting. I was talking before CES started. I was talking a lot with a guy named Carl Guttag. He's very well respected. He's like, he used to work at like Texas Instrument and all this stuff, and excuse me. He like designed the chips that would like later be put into like some of the early game consoles, like the Nintendo and like all those. Just very talented person, right? He's just been in the industry for a while, and he's really interested in focusing on stuff related to AR optics, and like he's basically very skeptical of AR ever taking off and all this other reasons and stuff. And I kind of agree with a lot of what he says. But me and him is what we worked together to talk about Imagine Optics, because he was looking into Imagine Optics and I already did a ton of work looking into them. And he has amazing sources in the industry, and he found out that Imagine Optics was acquired by Meta, and Meta would pretty much, Meta would actually confirm that, by the way. So it wasn't like, if you didn't know who Carl Guttag was and you saw me report that Meta bought Imagine Optics, they confirmed it themselves like a day or two later. So that happened. But anyway, Carl Guttag is, you know, he knows CES in and out, and he would go every year for AR. And before CES, he pretty much canceled his plans to go, because the actual AR and XR showing for CES this year was, like, to use his words, like pitiful, like nothing. And I kind of feel that. I went there. There was like, yeah, I mean, there was some AR VR stuff, but like it really felt like just felt small, right? And I'm really disappointed because I had a private showing with Tilt 5. I was really excited for that. Jerry Ellsworth. I was gonna be able to talk to her and talk about Tilt 5, which is probably the only AR project I'm really excited for. But they didn't make it to CES, and there was like a lot of cool stuff I was excited for. But by the time CES happened, those things would be canceled. But anyway, but let's talk about some of the stuff that was really interesting. So this was like this was actually a great start. This was on so CES would have media days, which are, they're not really like big show floor. They don't open up the show floors, but they have a lot of conferences and a lot of keynotes from companies saying, hey, this is what we've been working on, or this is what we think, you know. But they do have like one, they open up a very small show floor, and some companies pay a lot of money to give an early preview to what they're working on to media only. And this was one of the products that we saw. So first of all, this is called the Meganen. I already forgot. You know, people were complaining to me about saying this wrong, but I only said it because the Japanese guy at the booth told me to say it like this. And apparently it's like they even spell this weird in like Japanese or whatever characters, but like it's like Meganen X or something, Meganen X, and it is a headset that is using OLED micro displays with pancake optics, right? You have to also remember, I did post a video about it, so you know it was a very short video, but I only had a very short time with it. This is actually a subsidiary company, the Shift All. It doesn't say the logo here. This company is known as Shift All. They are a subsidiary of Panasonic. Panasonic has been showing off these concept glasses for a couple years now. But this is finally like a actual productized version of what Panasonic was looking into. They are partnered with a company known as Copen, not Imagine, and they make their Copen kind of does like a lot of different stuff. They do like liquid crystal on silicon. They do micro OLED on silicon. They do their own optics stuff. They're kind of like a jack of all trades. But they still use color filtered based designs, and a lot of people are finally talking about Arpara, right? Like this is pretty similar to Arpara, right? Arpara has been hyped. I was warning people it's probably not gonna be the best product, unfortunately, even though I was really excited about people talking about OLED micro displays. But you know, finally reviewers got them, and people are like, yeah, it's really dark, right? When you go into these sunlit environments, it's super dark. And the reason for that is, well, a lot of these micro OLED displays, especially in the case of Arpara, they use displays from a company known as CES, which is a Chinese company, and they use a color filter based design, single stack. I'll explain what that is in a second. And but the problem is, and it's rated at about 1800 nits, which sounds a lot. That's more than what the highest tier smartphones have. Highest tier smartphones reach around 1000 nits these days. And you're like, wow, that's pretty freaking high, right? Well, the problem is with VR, you want to actually make your duty cycle lower so the motion artifacting doesn't happen for these OLED screens. And the way they do that is they flash the pixels during a percentage of a frame. And like the goal for a lot of these companies is to reach 10% duty cycle. And so that's already, let's use that 10% number just as a baseline. So let's say you have an 1800 nits display. Well, if you take 10% of that, because you're getting 10% of the active brightness for that frame, you're really only getting 100 nits, or 180 nits brightness for that frame. But that's before it goes through the optics. And this is using, and these headsets are using pancake optics, which polarized light, they're bouncing light back and forth, and you lose, some of these optics are like super inefficient, some of them are like 20%, so you want to take 20% of that 180 number, and by the time that the light gets to your eyes, it's super dark, right? Super dim. So that's kind of like been the main reason why, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why micro OLED displays have not been sort of the main display, and brightness is a very important aspect, especially because pancake optics are great. They match very well with OLED micro displays, but at least with the Arpara, the CES panel is not very good. So the first thing I when I got to this booth, I had no information on it. The people at the booth were from Japan. They didn't have any engineering knowledge. They had very basic, English talent. You know, like they spoke pretty good basic English, but like, you know, if I start using words like duty cycle and stuff, they're like, right? you know. And when they told me the specs, I'm like, oh, these must be Copen displays and Copen panel optics, because they were like, yeah, this is the, you know, it was like 2.6 by 2.6 at 1.3 inches per eye. I'm like, huh. Well, I do a lot of research on who makes a display like that, and only Copen does. So I was like, huh, I've never actually tried a headset with Copen displays in it. And what's different about Copen compared to the Arpara panels is Copen, so they're still using color filters, which I don't really like for micro OLED. I'm a big fan of direct emission, which is like actually having no color filters, basically. I'm not going to get into that right now. But what they do with Copen to try to get better brightness is they stack white OLED pixels on top of each other, and then they put the color filters on the very top. And it gets about double the brightness of the Arpara panel. But then you got, like, you know, there's some energy consumption issues when you start stacking different pixels or whatever. But with this headset, for the little time I tried it, it was actually like really, I mean, it had pretty good brightness for the scene I was in. They put me in SteamVR Home. They were having a lot of issues setting up this device for demos at this floor. It's like they set up the booth an hour before. But from what I saw, at least from first glance, it was already better visually in terms of brightness than the Arpara, which makes sense because I was later confirmed that this was Copen displays and lenses, which is using a dual stack architecture. Yeah, yeah. Sorry. That was a lot of talking for this one product. I didn't know. When it comes to OLED microdisplay headsets, I get really passionate, right? And like this headset actually struck a chord with a lot of people. I posted like a 1-minute video on YouTube because I was like, "Hey, this is cool. CES day one, and we got an OLED microdisplay headset. That's freaking awesome!" And people really got excited. They're asking me a lot of questions, and I couldn't answer a lot of the questions because again, the demo floor was just not ideal. And I only had a little bit of time because I mean there's a lot of people that want to try the headset out, but it seemed like a better quality product all in all, even though this was still very prototypey than the Arpara. But it is more expensive. Like I think they're trying to sell it for $900 or something, but they are planning to release it in the spring of this year, which is crazy. I was really shocked to hear that. But yeah, I'm really happy to see people talk about this. That's the one thing that I really like to see about Arpara and this headset, and like all the rumors for the Apple headset is like micro OLED displays are becoming a lot more like talked about online, and I love it. That makes me really excited because I feel like when we get the first like yeah, this is from Panasonic, but Panasonic's not really like, I mean they're not even putting Panasonic name on this thing, right? They're using their subsidiary company Shift All. You know, it's not like tier 1 really, like it's weird. But if we get like a headset from like Apple or Valve that has micro OLED and they're gonna put high quality ones, I mean people are gonna look at LCDs and people already look at LCDs in their headsets to be really terrible. But like after we get the full first tier 1 consumer headset with like a good micro OLED panel, it's just gonna kick off from there, right? Like everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, I'm never touching LCD again." Yeah. So very, very, I love it. Yes. You wish you were there to try it. It was, I mean, it was cool. It has an XR1 in it, purely to do stuff like it wants to do its own inside out camera based tracking for just the headset. This thing doesn't come with controllers, but it is compatible with SteamVR. So if you had like lighthouses or something, which I think if you're buying this headset, you're already very interested, and like they're advertising this as a PC VR headset. They have their own full body tracking kit they have there. I didn't try it, but it looks very similar to Slime VR. It's completely IMU based. And yeah, like it's a Japanese company. They know who they're targeting. They're targeting people that spend a lot of time in VR chat, honestly. And I've always said this to people is like, I love spending time in VR chat. I love spending time in VR, but man, after you try one of these super light headsets, you go back home, you put on your Index, which I love my Index. I want a replacement for it, honestly, but like, it's heavy and it's not worth it anymore after you try one of these. And yeah, just improves software. They also had this weird thing. I didn't talk about this, but I had to show it off during the stream. They're calling it the Mutalk. It looks like a feeding tube for like a horse. But what it actually does, I'm gonna answer some questions in a second. If you like are doing like, okay, so they advertise it as a way to, it's a microphone. It's a microphone, actually. It's a microphone. But it's designed to make sure people can't hear what you're saying. Like if you're in a room of people and you're like talking about, I mean, their example was if you're in like a business setting with a VR headset and you gotta talk some serious business, you don't want to hear people talking, like hear you say, then you put this horse feeder on your mouth. It's a microphone, and no one will be able to hear you. But like, you know, I see it with this, right? And I think, you know, they're clearly into VR chat. They're clearly into like, they're into a certain audience. I feel like they're not trying to hide business talk. They're trying to hide other noises that people are making. So anyway, yeah. What hinders tech to increase FOV? I think for FOV, it's mostly lens technology that's been hindering FOV. Um, it goes hand in hand with displays. Like, larger displays make it easier to increase the FOV, but no one wants larger displays because when you make a display larger, that makes the headset humongous, like with the Pimax or the X-Tal, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So we've been also trying to get higher resolutions and slim down the lens systems, and there's ways to get bigger FOVs with these smaller lens systems. I've been doing a lot of research recently on meta lenses and like more research on the liquid crystal phase lens, and like all those things are going to be very beneficial for at least making the FOV way wider than these simple pancake optics we see in like a headset like this. Like these are, I mean these are good optic systems, but they're not like there's still even more next gen stuff than this is what I'm trying to say, and it's getting there. It's getting here fast too. Basically, what the way with meta lenses work and like a lot of these liquid crystal optics is they treat lenses like actually like chips. You know, we've been learning as like the tech industry has been learning how to make ridiculously tiny chips, right? On these super tiny nanometer bases with lithography, and people are realizing, wow, we can actually alter. We either with glass or plastic, we can actually like use lithography equipment to actually make lenses do things for different color channels, for FOV, like a ton of interesting stuff, and that's kind of where the industry is really looking into. And yeah, so it's the lens stuff mostly. Lenses are like the big thing. Everyone's trying to figure out the best lens systems. Like you see all these companies working on new patents for new lens systems, and even going back to older lens systems that were not really useful for any use case. They're like, wow, this could be great for VR. Like we can use this, but yeah. Anyway. Should you buy a 3090 Ti or wait for 4090? I mean, I don't know anything about GPU stuff, but it sounds like the 40 series is coming out soon-ish or something. I don't know. If I were you, I would wait for that. This is another thing I want to talk about briefly. This is a company called Cura. My community has talked about this company a lot. And they advertise ridiculous. I don't even know what they advertise. Let me see what they advertise actually, because it's like actually ridiculous specs. Yeah, so they're very excited for this headset or this AR glasses that is called the Cura Gallium. And when I read these specifications, it seems impossible, like literally impossible to me. Like literally impossible. I don't know how they would be able to get these specs for glasses form factor. So, and I was excited to find out, oh wow, they have a booth. So I went up to the booth and I'm like, hey, you got a CES award. That's really cool. I've heard a lot about Cura from my community. I would love to try it out. And they're like, okay, you can try it out. And then he starts pulling out his cell phone. He's like, we have an app that would simulate what the experience of the Cura AR glasses is like. And I'm like, an app on a phone? Uh-huh. Where's the hardware? Like, you got a CES award and everything. They didn't seem to have any hardware at the event, basically. Yeah, it's pretty sus. Like, I was already pretty suspicious of their company's claims of like what like their specs are for the like tiny glasses and everything. And then like, you know, I don't know. I'm very skeptical of this company now, like even more so. So I don't want to talk too much more about them, but it's weird. It's pretty weird. Sounds like vaporware. It does, but like they won a CES award, and that's what's really weird. Like, what the flip? Oh, okay. Do you think the Pimax 12K will deliver? Oh, let's talk about Pimax real quick, because Pimax was supposed to be at the event. Showing off actually more than just the 12K, by the way. They were wanting to show off another headset that they didn't even announce or something. I think they're going to announce it soon as well. It's probably very similar to the 12K QLED, but less flagshipy. Because I think they call it the Reality Series or something that the 12K is supposed to be in, and they want to have different like price ranges for that series, just like how they have the Artesian series and like some other one I forget the name of. Yeah, they were supposed to be at CES and give a lot of demos to media, but they basically got screwed logistically, is what they say. I kind of believe them actually for this. Like honestly, I know it's like really shady. Like, huh, wow, that's pretty convenient. But they're actually in Orlando right now. One of the people that was coming, like they were flying all their employees here to CES and everything. Like they were preparing for the event, and one of them's in Orlando right now, and they actually have a headset here in Orlando. I've been trying to contact them again, saying, "Hey, I live in Orlando. Please let me come see it." We'll see if that happens, but like, yeah, apparently they're gonna do like a small showcase very soon of what they were supposed to show at CES, and I'm not too skeptical of them. Like I'm skeptical. So here's the thing with Pimax. I think Pimax does really cool stuff, but I think their marketing and like whoever runs their actual, a company is made up a lot of things. There's people that make a hardware, right? And they're like, they're engineers, they're in the background, they're doing all this stuff. And then there's all the front end people, which is like customer service, marketing, all this stuff. And Pimax probably has the worst of any company I've ever seen that actually does things on the scale they do for VR and AR. And it just like they do such stupid stuff. It's actually mind-boggling how freaking inept it feels that their marketing department is. But yeah, apparently there's a headset in Orlando. I want to try it, but Pimax never likes to reply to anyone's emails. Even Thrill has trouble. So Thrill Seeker has trouble. We were both talking to each other like, hey, we were both I was like, hey, Thrill, we should like while we're at CES, we should make this a big public deal, right? Let's just like call out Pimax or whatever. He didn't want to do it. I think I did tweet something about Pimax because I just don't care about burning bridges. Like I've read it. My entire YouTube channel is probably based on burning bridges, I would think at this point. Like honestly. So yeah, I get annoyed. Oh yeah, let's talk about this. So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot. You should do a collab with Thrill Seeker. I was supposed. I actually it hasn't happened in the past month or two, but there was like a few months. I was actually pretty much writing out all the topics that he should talk about for Tuesday Newsday. Like for a while, like 3 months, I think I was doing that. I would just like give out an outline for him to write a script, and yeah, so I was kind of collabing with Thrill, but from in the background. Yeah. Anyway, so this is Qualcomm. I was in the audience. They announced a partnership with Microsoft, and basically what they're going to be doing with Microsoft is making custom-tailored chips for Microsoft for whatever their next AR, probably their next HoloLens, because Microsoft has been announcing, or like it's been being announced that Microsoft's partnering with a lot of companies to make the next generation HoloLens, which is coming out in a couple years. They partnered with Samsung as well, which is a pretty big partnership. So Microsoft's getting pretty serious about the like making HoloLens way more consumer, I would say, because you don't make these big partnerships when you're just dabbling and stuff. So they're getting serious. Like they're gonna have their own custom chips from Snapdragon. They're gonna have probably a very big deal with Samsung, and Samsung also has like huge stake in DigiLens, I think, which is a lens manufacturing company. So yeah, they're really working hard now, which is really cool. Qualcomm's in a weird state right now. They're actually like the biggest leader for AR VR chips, like undoubtedly. Like they're in every standalone headset, right? However, there's all these murmurs about the Apple headset that's obviously using custom Apple silicon, and people are like Kuo, who the biggest analyst for the Apple stuff, is saying like, yeah, this headset that they're working on is going to be 2 to 3 years ahead because of the chips and everything, and that's pretty true because Snapdragon's more based on like, I mean, people use Qualcomm because they invested in the XR ecosystem, and it's easy to mass produce these chips, and Qualcomm did a good job. But they're very lagging behind when it comes to like desktop grade ARM chips. They bought a, or they like, I think they purchased a company a couple years back to actually focus on that more. But for you know, they're trying to make a lot of collaborations, and I think this Microsoft stuff is another like aspect where it's like, hey, we need to really get serious about this like really fast because our competitors are gonna make us look bad. There's also murmurs of I've been getting a lot of murmurs from China, like Chinese. I have some great contacts in China. I'm just gonna tell you that my best sources are all from China. Anything I report on is mostly from China because supply lines and like deals being made with manufacturers and like fabs being created are usually the best kind of sources. And Facebook's working really hard on at least designing their own custom silicon for AR VR as well. So yeah, it seems like there will be a time in the, I'm not sure if the near future, but in a couple of years, where they're gonna go full. Facebook's gonna go full custom as well, like that. And really, every company, every major company is really looking into custom silicon. So, and that's kind of obviously if you're Qualcomm, who kind of relies on these companies to just throw their chip in there. When you have these big tech companies saying, "Hey, we're not going to use you. We're going to use our own chips," that's obviously a problem. Yeah. Have I gotten to try Vario? I got to try a Vario X. I didn't get to try a Vario. So, okay. I got to put one on. I didn't get to use it. But Vario's gonna loan me a what's their new headset they announced? The one with that's mini LED, I think. I already forgot the name of it, but they're gonna send me one for a month so I can use it and try it out and stuff. And yeah, I don't even think they expect a review. They just want me to try it out, and that'll be cool. That's supposed to be like starting around next month. So, Arrow, yeah, Arrow. I can't think of the name of it. I was at the Canon press conference. 50 to 60% of the Canon stuff they showed off were XR related, actually, which was very kind of neat. I was not really expecting that. I was just going to every press conference that like I like the company. Canon's one of those companies I like. And they re-shown off their Booba lens, which you can see here. They're very proud of this lens. Very expensive lens, by the way. It's $2,000, and the camera body it's for is like $3,000. And not only that, I actually had a private showing with some of the stuff they're working on for their VR stuff while I was at CES. And I asked them, okay, that's very cool. You got this nice camera, and it does all this stuff. How does and they talked about the software. They said, oh yeah, we have our auto stitching software, which stitching basically fuses the two each left eye and right eye view together to make a stereoscopic video. I'm like, oh cool, you have a software for it, so it's like super easy for people. Is that free? And they're like, there's a free trial. It's like a subscription for that software. I'm like, oh. Okay, it's a pretty expensive. I'm not gonna buy one, but yeah, they had some other stuff which we'll get back in. Well, let's talk about it right now, actually. They had another thing there at CES. Let me see if I can pull up the video real quick. I might not be able to be honest. What about Snapdragon XR3? Yeah, Snapdragon XR3, I got some murmurs. So currently, Snapdragon XR3, the industry people that talk to me, they say Snapdragon XR3 is slated for 2023. By the middle, like released by the middle, or released to vendors by the middle of 2023. That's what I'm hearing. So and I also got some really good cool talk or cool like hints to Quest 3 basically. My music stopped? Yes. And Quest, apparently they're not, they're working on Cambria right now. which we're gonna talk about Cambria. We're talking about a lot of stuff. This stream's gonna be longer than normal, I think. Cambria is definitely gonna have XR2 chips built in. Like, that's just the way it is. There's Facebook's silicon designs are nowhere near ready for mass production or like done. And yeah. But Quest 3 is so there's already being designs for Quest 3 obviously being done internally in the company, and I got some word that they're even making deals with companies that provide like either manufacturing equipment or like very small components that are built into displays. And it sounds like that they're really getting serious, Facebook, about micro OLED, like actually for real this time. I kind of knew that was going to happen because anyone that's been watching my channel knew that in the firmware, there is a micro OLED in the kernel. There's references to a version of Cambria that was using micro OLED displays at like 3000 by 3000 per eye, around there. So it was obvious that they were at least getting really serious to put it into a prototype, but it's likely that they couldn't get the actual manufacturing or mass producing for it to the volumes they wanted in time for Cambria. So it looks like they're actually getting really serious about micro OLED. At least they're signing deals with companies to be like, hey, provide this equipment for it, provide all these little things that go into a display like that. So that's a matter of time, and people are saying, what I heard is the current target for a device like that was after Connect next year, so like after Connect 2023, which is that was awesome. And I'm sorry, I gotta talk about this again, but like this was also, come on, focus, autofocus, please. I hate this thing. Dang it. I really hate web cameras, by the way. Like, holy frick, they're so freaking useless. What? Okay. Sorry. I don't remember what I was talking about. Thanks, Logitech. I don't remember anymore. Anyway. Yeah. It's your light? I have like every light on. Yes. So yeah, Quest 3, it's obvious, like, it's not surprising to know that they're working on it already, even though they're still like, I don't think they're working on Cambria, they're working on the software end of Cambria. There are Facebook employees that have Cambria, like, pre-production units at their houses so they can develop the software, tweak the software for it. And yeah, they're really looking to get that out this year, during the summer at least, is what I'm understanding. Like, the production lines are pretty much, like, all the parts for Cambria are pretty much, they're decided 100%. And oh yeah, I remember where I was going. So the same source that gave me all the information about them making deals for micro OLED like lines and everything, they also, and I was tinkering with this idea for like a month, by the way. Like, I was talking to people like, so the original rumor was they were going to use dual cell panels, and that was based on Somalia, who's like the best data miner. But he got a little confused about the panel type. Like, he saw dual panel, and I think he looked it up and thought it meant like dual cell panels, which I was like, that doesn't really make sense. The more I thought about it, I'm like, it's probably more likely they would use mini LED. And the same source that was telling me all about, like, hey, they're working on custom silicon, like all this other stuff, like the deal that was made with, like, I think it was called Changshin Technology or something, for providing stuff for panels for next product. They also confirmed to me that mini LED in Cambria, they were like, mini LED will definitely be in Cambria. I reported that on Twitter. During CES. A day later, literally 24-hour period later, analyst Ming-Chi Kuo confirmed it. Confirmed my mini LED thing. That was a really big moment for me because Kuo is like the most well-respected supply chain analyst in the industry. So being 24 hours before him to say this thing, and like there were some people that were like from Upload VR were like saying, well, Somalia said dual cell or whatever, and I'm like, no, it's mini LED. And then Kuo came out and said mini LED. I was like, oh, thank God, cool. So, custom silicon by who? I don't know the details, but Facebook wanted probably. I don't know the details of like who would manufacture the custom silicon, but they're like designing it internally. They hired a bunch of people to do that stuff. Like, it's just one of the many investments they've been making into like hiring and all this stuff. So, I mean, there's only like a few companies, right, that could like produce a custom silicon, right? So it's probably one of those. All right, whew, sorry. When might be announced more specs of the Cambria? Probably probably a few months, like maybe March and April we'll hear more decidedly about it, is my guess. But I'm not sure. I don't have any actual internal. So the thing is with Meta is I think like they can pretty much decide when to hold that event whenever they want. And when you get into stuff like that, that's good to have internal sources within the company, because, you know, that's based on making an event, right? And like that's event planning, and that's like usually discussed around the company. But I don't really have actual sources in the company that talk to me. It's all like supply chains and like Chinese sources and everything that tell me this stuff. So I'm not sure when it comes to that. I only give an idea of when the release date for a product is, because I can see when products are, like when the supply lines are built or like ready, and then I can base like, oh, it's going to be in, because once a supply line is ready, it's only like a couple months before products can go out to consumers directly. So it's very short period. Yeah. All right. So this was all okay. No more Meta. Sony was kind of okay. So it was kind of a surprise. Okay. Going back to CES was a busy week, not just because I was at CES, but like I was getting so much information from my Chinese friends. Honestly, like so much good information that week. They just kept sending me all this stuff. It almost feels like controlled leaks or whatever, almost, because there was just so much stuff that week, and then become quiet ever since. But before the Sony conference, I also tweeted out that I heard from a really good source that Gore-Tech would be providing and manufacturing the PSVR 2 headsets and everything related to that. And that their supply lines are pretty much, or their manufacturing lines are pretty much ready, like ramping up. They're pretty much ramping up right now. And when I hear that, and again, I said that it only takes like a couple months from that ramping up phase to get things out to consumers, I was like, huh, you know, I didn't come to CS expecting Sony to announce anything PSVR 2 related. But hearing that news about the supply lines, I'm like, maybe we'll actually hear something. And yeah, we did. Like, they announced the specs and everything, and the name, which is PlayStation VR 2. And then, like, that was really cool. It just feels really good when you're, like, ahead. Even if it's, like, a few days ahead of, like, a big announcement, you just, like, have these expectations and they finally follow through with what you're thinking. It feels really good, right? Compared to like other times where it just falls flat. But when you're like, when you're right, it feels so good. Yes. Anyway, yeah, but the specs for the actual PlayStation VR 2 were not really surprising, because they were leaked from a developer conference in like September. And that kind of tells you how set in stone these leaks were. People are getting dev kits already. Like more external people. There's companies obviously that have had dev kits for a while, like the bigger AAA companies that are working on stuff. But like, it sounds like from what I'm hearing is that more dev kits are kind of reaching more external developers to produce stuff, and that's also kind of a testament to like their supply lines are ramping up, because they're sending out more dev kits, which dev kits are usually not too different than the final product for some of these things. No one's designing dev kits for VR headsets that are like extremely different, right? So Yeah, and then Sony announced a car. I know this is not VR related, but I was really shocked about this. That they're setting up a whole company to release cars, electric cars, and it didn't make sense to me until I went up to the car, and I looked inside, and I saw Sony logos on the speakers, the displays, the control panel, Sony everything inside the car, and then that's where it really clicked in my brain, like, this makes a lot of sense. Of course Sony is making a car, because then they can pack the entire interior of the car with Sony stuff. Like, that blew my mind. Like, that makes so much more sense, right? So, yeah. Alright. Alright, Xtal. I had a very short time trying out Xtal. This is the Xtal 3. Apparently it's 10,000 US dollars. 10,000 US dollars. 10,000 US dollars. Is this a $10,000 experience? No, it is not. It feels like, I don't know, it feels like a more refined Pimax. Like, it's got a wide FOV, it doesn't have much distortion, like, it's a good, well-made product. But it's $10,000, and so apparently, from what I understand, is they priced it at $10,000 because they want this to be very big in military usage. They want the military to buy these to train pilots and everything. The same crap you hear from a lot of these companies, honestly, that make these wide FOV headsets. They're like, yeah, we want this for flight simulation, right? That's what they always say. And apparently what they're saying is, if they didn't price their headset at $10,000, the government agencies wouldn't even take them seriously. Which kind of is telling about governments and how much they spend money frivolously, because I would never spend $10,000 on a headset like this. But hey, it's cool. They didn't have the mixed reality stuff going, unfortunately. But yeah, Xtal 3. There's the lenses. Very smooth lenses. Yeah. It was light, actually. It looks super heavy, by the way. It looks heavy, but it's actually not that heavy. Very, I feel like there's not much in the actual encasing, and they made it the weight a lot better. But it looked like a monster. Like, when you look at pictures of yourself wearing it, it's like, whoa. How's it compare? I haven't tried the Aero yet, unfortunately. Again, I get the Aero to try for a month, like either next month or the month after. Oh, you tried the full mixed reality setup? Frick. I didn't get to try that. It feels like whenever I go to a booth, actually this happened a lot. Whenever I would go to a booth, they would tell me something's not working for almost everything I did. Like, everything I would try to do. I have a very bad luck with stuff. Metaverse. The metaverse word was everywhere at CES, even if it wasn't like VR, AR related. And this is a metaverse car. Actually not the car, it's the dashboard. So what this was, and I unfortunately there was no way to record this. So what this thing was, this was a dashboard / windshield that had eye tracking and a augmented reality HUD. And the issue is, it was literally impossible to record, because basically the way it works is you sit in the chair, the driver's seat, and the eye tracking would only, it would base the projections of your windshield based on where you were in the seat and where you were looking, which is a very interesting concept. Seems very bizarre, and the quality was, it was interesting. It had the same problems actually as AR glasses do. The FOV for this windshield was very limited. Like, you know, they would, like, if there was a demo that required you to, like, a very tall part of a demo for something, the guy would tell you, yeah, like, stand up a little bit so you can see it or whatever. And like, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's like a giant AR glasses, which are useless. But I see like the applications, but I just don't. I don't know. It's weird. They were using liquid crystal on silicon as well to as the light engine for this, which easier to get higher brightness, but like man, the colors and like the refresh rate of this demo was the refresh rate especially was very noticeable. It looked kind of bad, all the stuff on the HUD. So yeah. I didn't try the vest. I was a little weary to put stuff on that other people would directly put on their body during CES. I'm sure you understand why. Even though they probably were like cleaning them and whatever, I just didn't want to put stuff on. Really, I really didn't want to put stuff on. And I got back from CES. I did not get COVID, so that's cool. Some people that went to CES came back with positive tests, so. Yeah, I don't know. I did. Yeah, okay. So I should say, yeah, I did put on headsets. That's fair. I did put on headsets. That's true. I am being a little stupid right now. But like anything that's like, so like for example, the OWO vest. The OWO vest is direct to skin, right? Like you take off your shirt and you put it on, and like, yeah, stuff like that. I was like, man, I really want to try it, but then like, I don't want to put this thing that 3 days worth of people are putting on. I don't know. I don't even like trying on clothes at the store because I think about stuff like that. So, oh, here's the OWO Fest. Yeah. They did clean the headsets each time. They were very good about that. Like everything that had like, and there wasn't too many headsets honestly to try out. There was a very select amount of headsets to try out, but every single one. They were cleaning. They were either cleaning them or making people put on like the little plastic, or the paper thing. This is a weird. I just had to show this off, just so you can have nightmares tonight. It's an ER training training robot. It looks horrifying, like absolutely horrifying. This was in the Japan Startup Pavilion. This was another picture of me holding the thing. Oh, another thing people were confused about as well. I know how to get my audience to wake up. I mentioned the word. I mentioned 3 letters together, and man, my audience goes crazy. Holy frick. Okay. So yeah, I was holding the glasses in my video, showing like when I was trying this on. It wasn't because that it was gonna fall off. This was still a very prototype model, and the guy was like, "Please be very careful." And he was so nice. He was like, "Please be careful." And like, it made me like really want to be careful. Like I didn't want anything to bend on it. Like I was terrified. So but normally the consumer product, you would attach a strap here that goes through the loop, and it would tie on your head, and it would stay on your head just fine. Like I mean, it is a super light headset. You don't even need a top strap for like this kind of headset. Even that's how light it is. So anyone that was wondering why I was holding it like this, it was literally because the guy was like, "Please be careful with our prototype, please, sir." So yeah. Did I try? I don't think Lynx was at CES. I do not think Lynx was at CES. I also love the design of this headset, by the way. I think it looks epic. Like, it just looks cyberpunky. I think it looks cool. But I love this. Okay. So I'm a weirdo, right? People, VR YouTubers, VR AR YouTubers, they go to this event. They want to see all the VR AR stuff. For me, I'm like, hey, let's look at eye-tracked windows or this thing. This is a brain-computer interface, technically. Yeah, so this was called the iSync Brain. I am still waiting on my results, but this thing was super cool. Dude, I don't have the video. Dang it. Okay, so this has full of EEG electrodes and some near IR stuff, like sensing your heart rate through your earlobes, and like it was so cool. And what they were trying to show off is this helmet could actually detect if you have any mental mental health issues. So if you're like freaking crazy, they would be able to tell. And what's really cool about it, because again, it's all based on like, you know, the electrical signal electrical signals your brain's giving off. So when you would blink your, and the guy would tell you, hey, blink your eyes real quick, and you would blink your eyes real fast, and like it would show you this giant informational graph, and every time you blink your eyes, guess what? Oh wait, and for each eye. And I thought this was so cool. Monday I'm supposed to get my results to see if I'm crazy or not, basically. But I love seeing this. It makes me think of Project Gallia, which I love this stuff. I really do like this stuff. I think it's super cool. I think the I don't know, the more work that's done in this stuff, the more excited I get. And when I saw this thing, and the guy was surprised because so apparently, so it's funny. The guys that were at this booth, they were usually having to go out of their booth to try to get people to come try it, because there's actually like people are kind of afraid to do this stuff, by the way, apparently. But for me, I actually just like ran up there. I'm like, can I try this? Can I please put this on? And the guy was like, really? Okay. I was so excited to see this there. That's not related. What is the second product with Canon? We'll get into that in a minute. I think I have a video or something. We'll talk about the second thing from Canon. It's not that important. It's a software thing. Yeah. Yeah. So this is something that was all over social media, and it looks really good on camera. Like, it looks great. Like you see this on video, it's like, wow, that thing's amazing. Well, and let me tell you a little bit about when you see it in real life and you get real close to it. So the way this thing works is it's using e-ink. E-ink is basically, you know, Amazon Kindle, like the cheaper ones, they like are just pure black and white. Same technology, actually. They place a giant e-ink film all over the car and modulate it. And it looks cool, like it looks great in videos and everything. But when you get close in real life, you see already, even for this like car that they're trying to make look really good, the ink layer is peeling. Like it looks really bad, like on the edges of the where they place this thing on. So this is definitely something that's not gonna be coming to market anytime soon. And I was informed a couple days ago that because of this car, and like stock investors found out it's using e-ink technology, apparently a lot of e-ink stocks are shooting up right now because they think that BMW is going to release this. But like anyone that's seen this product in real life up close will be like, yeah, it's peeling. It's not gonna happen. So I think it's hilarious that the stocks went up for e-ink companies. Oh, people. Oh, this was sick. This is pretty cool. I didn't really know much about this, but this is the what do they call it? The Hyperloop or the Tesla loop. So they have one built under the entire convention center, and you go underground and you it's all Teslas, and the Teslas go through these tunnels to the other sections of the convention center, which is very large. And it was pretty interesting. I don't know, it just felt kind of cool going through the tunnel here. Yeah. I don't know, it's interesting. It was cool. It felt like a theme park ride, even though it's all Teslas going through a tunnel, and that's pretty much it. It's not even automated though. Yeah. I am not hyping the loop. I didn't really know much about it, but I was just like, basically the guy's like, oh, so I asked the guy, how do I get here? And they're like, oh, you gotta take the loop. And I'm like, oh, okay, the buses? And they're like, no, the loop. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. And he's like, oh, just go down these stairs and whatever. And then you just go, you're just not expecting it, right? And it's just like, where the heck am I? Freaking Uber with Teslas through a tunnel? It's very, very weird. Yeah. It's like trains, but dumb. I like that. It's like trains, but dumb. I actually agree with that. I wish we had more subway systems in America, because ever since I went to China, I saw how freaking nice their underground metros were. I'm like, man, I freaking hate driving. Alright, I posted a video about this, but I didn't really explain what it was. So this was also in the Japan Startup Pavilion, which was very AR VR focused, because Japan's always like big into VR. And what this software does is you would write an actual manga. You would write a manga in this application, and using AI, it would turn it into a VR visual novel, basically. I thought that was pretty freaking cool, honestly. Even if it's like probably very limited, but like it was a cool concept. Like, hey, I think that's really neat. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, it is pretty cool. All right, so this is something that blew my mind. Like, there was a very few things that like actually blew my mind at CES, and this was one of them. Or this was the preview to one of them. This company, this is again the Japan Pavilion, and when okay, let me just say, it doesn't look good on camera. Like, no matter what I tried to do angle-wise, I could not make these holograms look good on camera. Anyway, but this is like an actual mid-air floating hologram, and this was just the beginning, right? I was like, oh, that's pretty neat. Yeah, a pretty mobile hologram projector thing. Very cool. And then the guy tells me to come over here, and this is the thing that blew my mind. So this was more mid-air holograms. I was like, okay, yeah, these are bigger holograms. That's really cool. Then the guy tells me to touch it, and I'm like, what? Touch it? What? And then I realized this hologram is interactive. Like,
that's amazing.
I can touch. I'm not touching anything right now. I'm touching the mid-air, and I'm touching a keypad that's projected. That freaking, I've never seen something like that in real life, and that really blew my mind, honestly. Like, it's like, yeah, it was cool. It really just like, I don't know. It was really cool. It was insane. Like, it really, like, again, it was just, I was not expecting it. Like, there was some hologram stuff at the CES and on the main floor, but they were all very kind of lame, honestly. And then I come to the, that's why it's like, again, this was also in the Japan Startup Pavilion, which a lot of the cool stuff was honestly at this pavilion for me. And like, man, just like blew my freaking mind. I was like, I was not expecting a startup pavilion to be so interesting. So, yeah, it looks like sci-fi. Like, that's my thing, is like, I thought this was like not real, but I tried it in real life, and yeah, it was cool. Me and my wife both were like, wow, what the flip? Did we actually just try? Like, was that like a real thing we just tried? Like, whoa, we couldn't believe it. This was a weird thing. I guess someone's making like, I don't even think this will become a thing, honestly, but like, it's a car, flying car, flying motorcycle. I don't really know what they call it. It looks so stupid. Yeah, I don't know. This robot was trending on the internet as well before the event, and everyone thought it was fake. Well, I saw in real life it was not fake. It was cool, but creepy, but I liked it.
Data, I think I'm better at expressing feelings.
Yeah, people would ask it questions and it would give answers. Like, it was pretty neat, and the expressions were pretty cool. And apparently, like, if you like wave your hand in front of it, it would fall. It actually, you know, remember Noda AI, the video I made about the VR chat AI? It reminded me a lot of that, actually. Like, you try to get to it, you have to try to get its attention, then you can, like, you know, it reminded me of Noda. But maybe that's because I'm crazy. Is that it? Oh, that's all I have to show off for that. Okay. The lip sync is bad. I think it's just the issue with the because, you know, it's using like a Siri AI type thing to generate responses, right? And I think that the latency between the voice and the lip syncing is the problem. I don't think it's the lip syncing is bad, it's just the latency of the audio with the lip sync is rough. And that's probably not that difficult to fix. But it was cool. Yeah. Alright, so that finishes our that actually finishes my CES portion. You're probably surprised there's not much VR AR stuff for my CES stuff, but really, like, I don't know. I just wanted to check out different things. This was my first CES. I mean, I did wander the VR AR main section and tried some stuff, but like, man, I really wanted to have a full CES, and I just wanted to see stuff that was cool. Stay tuned for Monday when I announce if I'm crazy or not from that BCI helmet. Decided. Yeah. Oh, Unlinked VR. Okay, yeah, people were talking about Unlinked VR. I should mention that. I actually saw that booth, and they told me they didn't have any demos. And that's what I don't know. Like, when there's no demos for something like that, I'm not gonna, like, I didn't really care to ask questions. It's like I'm not saying it's fake. I think it's real, but like, I don't know, there's not much to talk about, like, unless I want to, like, respout the marketing material, and I don't really care much about re-saying marketing material for something. I'd rather try it and then talk about it, so. Yeah. Yeah, that was yeah, I'm glad people liked it. Real quick, before we get into, everyone's waiting for, so let's talk about, okay, the next topic is obviously SteamVR beta. That's the big thing that people want me to talk about. We're gonna talk about that. I'm gonna take a 1-minute break just to drink something. If you want to support me financially, you can what is it? Join this channel, super chat, or join my Patreon, bradsmells.com/Patreon, while I drink this orange soda that you can't see. Oh wait, no, this is water. Yeah, it's water. Let's pretend it's water. What the heck is a prinker? Join his OnlyFans? Yeah, I do have. Oh, actually, go to bradsmells.com/OnlyFans. That is a real website. Do it right now while I'm drinking and making my throat moist before I talk for another hour, probably. What VR headsets are you most looking forward to in 2022? Honestly, probably the PSVR 2. I don't think we're going to have to wait that long for PSVR 2. Like, at all. That's probably the headset I'm most excited for. Yeah, I can't wait to take one apart. I want to know who makes the panels in that headset. So, yeah. I'm curious if it's Samsung panels again. Deckard? Well, okay. I'm thinking about headsets that are pretty much confirmed to come out this year. Deckard, I hope. I'm hopeful. We'll talk. So PSVR 2 is using OLED, and most likely normal OLED, not micro OLED, which is still great. They have a great resolution. That's why I'm very curious about the panel, because it's got to be custom. It's got to be custom. I'm curious how the pixel arrangement's gonna be. I'm curious who's making it. A lot of interesting. I'm dying to know more about it. Not a lot of hopes for the Deckard. Well, the problem with Deckard is... So here's the problem with Valve. Or not the problem with Valve, but like the problem with me figuring out a release date for Valve. So I've given some ideas of when I think things will release. Like, I've given an idea for PSVR 2 when it's going to release. I've given an idea for Cambria when it's released. And I can base that on a lot of data from supply chains, and even Kuo gives their own. Like, Kuo thinks that PSVR 2 is going to release in the second quarter of this year, which is April May, June, in those months. Um, and that's probably I personally believe that because of the Goertek ramping up productions thing. I think that is possible. But with Valve, I don't even know officially who manufactures the Index headset. I don't know. They've kept that pretty freaking secret very well. Um, and also and this is what kind of pisses me off about analysts and really a lot of mainstream journalists is they still think HTC is like the major player in the VR consumer space. They don't know anything about Valve. And like even these supply chain analysts, they don't know what Valve is. They're not checking to see what Valve might be ordering. So I can't figure out a release date based on supply chain, which freaking sucks compared to these other companies that have very they're very big obviously in comparison. Doesn't Sony make their own RGB stripe OLED panels? I'm not sure. Sony, I know for TVs, this is why there's a lot of confusion with Sony because Sony for their TVs even still outsources the OLED panels to Samsung and LG mostly. So any Sony TV, the panel is most likely from LG or Samsung. And that's why it also confuses me about the micro OLED rumors from Sony for the Apple headset because Kuo says they're getting it from Sony. I'm curious what fab is making that. Like I'm really curious which fab is making it, and like I also don't even know which fab makes their current micro OLED headsets or not headsets, micro OLED panels for like the camera viewfinders. Like that information is just not out there like at all publicly. So there's a lot of weird questions I have, and I hope to find out soon. It's very possible that Sony's like really investing heavily into their own OLED stuff for XR maybe, but I just don't know. I showed off an image before where let me see if I can find it. I talk about the company Imagine, right, a lot. I hate I had to bring it up a lot, but like really think they're super involved with Valve especially. So this was a research that was published by Samsung Research, and they were looking at prospects for metaverse and micro displays. And basically, what this shows is their intended path, or what they believe is important to invest in, fabrication-wise, to make displays for XR. And basically, they decided that RGB OLED microdisplays with the lithography process is probably the best way to go for a bunch of reasons. And like, you know, again, I talk about how like I don't really care about current micro OLED displays like RPAR because they're all based on white OLED and stuff, and like even Samsung seems to agree quite a bit that this is the way to go for XR headsets or VR headsets. So, and I see this, I'm like, do they have fabs already built we don't know about, or they're just investing now? Like, I'm not really sure. No idea, because they're very good at keeping things close to the chest. Is the PSVR 2 1 or 2 panels? I'm not sure. I think they have an IPD though. I just don't know if it's digital IPD. Yeah, I'm not sure, honestly. No idea. Excuse me. Alright, I'm just about ready, finally. Thank you for being patient with me. When I talk a lot, my throat gets really dry, so. Anyway, what is Metaverse? I don't freaking know anymore. Alright. So, let's figure out where I am here. Okay. Oh, by the way, if you're ever curious, let me just show you. I do like an update on my Twitter. I really post a lot of stuff on Twitter, by the way. But whenever Valve makes an update internally or externally to SteamVR, I pretty much just post it. This is the main SteamVR branch. This is a branch that basically this is the Valve branch, basically, is the way you can think of it. Anything that's internally done to SteamVR is on this branch. So like, and what's funny about this, and it gets updates pretty often. And then some of those updates will finally make it to the more public stuff eventually. After they figure out what they need to leave in or cut out for obvious reasons. What's really funny about this with this is I don't know if I told you this story yet, but a couple months ago, I posted about main SteamVR on Twitter, and I got a message from Joe Ludwig. If you don't know who Joe Ludwig is, he's like the main SteamVR guy at Valve, and he just private messaged me out of nowhere. He doesn't follow me on Twitter officially or anything, but he almost right after, like a few minutes after I posted that tweet, he's like, "Do you have access to main SteamVR or something?" And I'm like, "Oh no, I don't. I just saw it update on SteamDB." And he was like, "Oh, good, because only people under NDA should have access to that." And that felt really good because, like, you know, it just kind of felt like, you know, he's like checking to see if I have like the super secret access to something. Like I must be on the right track in a lot of ways because he's just making sure of that. I think he was worried that there might have been like someone at Valve that's like leaking too much information to me or something. But no, I'm just freaking insane. And I have a problem. Alright. Valve finding you sus. I think they're probably just like, someone must be leaking this stuff, right? Oh, but you know what? If Joe Ludwig like ever is watching my streams, and he's, you know, the way he worded it, Joe. So people under NDA have access to main SteamVR. So you're telling me, if I want access, you gotta give me an NDA. I am willing to make that deal, honestly. I just want to know. I don't care if I don't get the. I don't care if I can't report on it anymore. I'm willing to. I'm willing. I just need to know. All right. Sorry, audience. Sorry. But if I had an option from Valve to like to sign an NDA, never speak on it again, and see Deckard and like all this stuff, I would do it. I honestly would do it. I'm sorry. I would do it. Yeah, it's very selfish, but like the more I do this, the more crazy I kind of feel. But yeah. I would take an NDA in a heartbeat. All right. But until then, let's get right into it. So, SteamVR was updated 3 days ago, and it was a pretty good update. It was the first update of the year. We got some very cool stuff in it. Let's show off what we saw. We're just gonna go one by one through the actual update. By the way, if you have some extra money laying around and you want to support a really great service, this is SteamDB. It's not run by Steam. It's run by a great group of people that make my job a lot easier. So, like, if you ever want to support a service, this is a great service just to support. Anyway, yeah. So let's go through all the strings. History. And I'll try to explain what we thought each one is. So, God, my throat's really dry right now. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. All right, cool. All right. So there's a lot of stuff going on related to distortion algorithms. this is part of it, but there's still way more. How do I explain? We're gonna come back to distortion, but this is there's also another glimpse into this as well. Shutdown system. This is kind of a big update actually that we got. So, and there's another string later on. Basically, in SteamVR, they're adding support. Let's scroll down and find it. This is gonna be all over the place. I'm sorry if it's gonna be like this, but like this is the way it's gonna be. That's a Linux bug fix. That is more Linux bug fix. I'm trying to find one more string here. You know, let's do it this way. This is way easier. Here we go. So they're adding support for SteamVR to be able to tell a headset to shut down. This is very different because if you ever use SteamVR a lot, you probably know a lot about the exit VR command. You probably used it maybe once before, or maybe you don't use it. But if you click the little hamburger menu on the bottom left, you get some different options like reset standing position or like exit the app or exit VR. In the new update, they are adding strings that would actually allow SteamVR to shut down something. Like a full-on shutdown. Not shut down SteamVR, but this kind of assumes a actual headset. So like, and this is very similar to, if you remember the Steam Deck, there was a leak a few months before the Steam Deck release that was very similar. XPaw found it, who is the creator of the SteamDB website. It basically showed shutdown system, restart, blah 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 blah, and he was able to figure out, oh, they're actually working on a console that can shut down itself and restart everything. And this feels really similar to that. Like this, they're actually making a command that can shut down a standalone system, almost definitely with that. So, and again, it's just like there's so many updates that like are just tailored for something that doesn't exist in all these things. That's why it's so fun to look into them. All right, so that's a small thing, but I mean it's also big. So. Yeah, that's not one of the big stuff. Let's close this one. That one's not that interesting. Yes, and we're also going to talk a lot about tracking soon. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff being added with shaders. Let me find that real quick. We're gonna dive right into shaders because I think it's a very big topic we need to talk about. So. This is the common files, and they added a bunch of new shader files into this for both Vulkan and DirectX 11. And what these shaders are clearly all related to, like either distorting or pre-distorting geometry. And when I first saw all these, I really had a light bulb in my brain. Because a lot of them are based on like lines and points, like all about stuff like that. And you're like, okay, Brad, well, what does that matter? Well, the only reason I think about these line and points, and this is all about geometry, tessellation, and everything. My first concept was, this reminds me of a SLAM system that a company that is confirmed working with Valve. Just to show you, before I go into this, people are like, how do you know they're working with Valve? So, Arcturus Vision's the company that's working with Valve. And this is like the CEO of that company. And they made RoomView 3D. And they haven't updated it at all since they released RoomView 3D. And that's because they've been really hard at work with Valve to work on their SLAM and a lot of other features. And he literally posted 2 days ago, like, hey, if you're looking for a job, our partners at Valve have roles, like blah, 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 help us, blah, blah. But they have a really long video that actually drives me crazy that no one probably knows about this video. And if you really, I'm not gonna watch the whole video, but like the last 20 minutes of this video tells a lot about how they want to do SLAM tracking, how Valve and Arcturus are both working together on SLAM tracking. And remember that line, that lines and points thing I was talking about? Well, oh frick, I didn't mean to click that. Dang it.
Because there is a part set up.
Well, guess how they do it. Yes, so he describes in this video that they do slam tracking in a very interesting way through their pass-through cameras, like an index pass-through cameras, you know, the two cameras on the front, and they use IMU data and use a actual slam system that marks out not just points, not just a point cloud, but lines. So lines and points. And I was like, huh, that's I mean, it's probably a coincidence, and that's why it's one of those things I didn't really want to show off. And I see all these like distortion that's like, I would assume would help. So like if they were wanting to do a hardware accelerated slam system, it might help to have shaders that can kind of aid the actual camera system to pre-distort or distort the points and lines that it sees in a room to make a slam system. And we're going to talk way more about this, but like this whole video is a treasure trove of what they've been working on the past couple years, and it seems like their slam system works pretty freaking well too. This is like, I mean, there's not much in this room too. Like it's just mapping out two computer desks, and they're shaking their head really fast. And the IMU and the camera data is catching up pretty well. And it sounds like this slam system, they're testing it with an index, which is pretty crazy because the index doesn't have that good of pass-through cameras, honestly. So yeah, definitely check out this video. Oh, they also talk about in this video controller tracking and how they basically are also working on tracking controllers, and they can simulate VR controllers, and they use IMU data with flashing LED sequences and everything, which also LED sequence was something that was added to the code, the Lighthouse driver, not this update, but like the last big update, like in November, late November. There was something new that in the Lighthouse driver called set LED sequence, which is not anything that, I mean, the Lighthouses don't have that functionality. It was something that doesn't exist. So, you know, I feel like they're working really hard on their slam and controller tracking stuff, getting that actually fleshed out in the code. And they also, I mentioned this before, but so they wanted to use 180-degree fisheye cameras to get a greater FOV for the pass-through cameras. Also, it's good for tracking, because if you have a huge FOV for tracking, then you can actually, like, you know, have a greater tracking FOV as well. But the issue is when you increase the FOV, do you see this up here? What it, like, I can't really show you better. Rendering like in a computer, that kind of FOV gets this really crappy, I mean, it's basically useless. So what they figured out is they can render in what's called a triangular prism. They render multiple views and turn that 180-degree fisheye lens into, you'll see right here when he turns it on. Hold on a second. He'll turn it on right now. It goes from this impossible blurred image to like a full view that the system would be able to see the controllers in many different FOVs, which is super sick, by the way. I think it's super cool, and that's how they solve that issue. And it works for, and here's like, you know, they're talking about blobs, which are like the LEDs on a controller, so they can set the LED sequence, and they talk all about that.
Blobs that you find that are close into sound of poses.
And they can do it for two controllers, they said. And this was in July of last year that they showed this off. I'm sure there's been a lot more strides since July, because they've been working really hard. But yeah, that's like, I really like this video. It just shows a lot of the cool stuff they're working on with Valve, almost 100%. For their camera-based SLAM tracking system, which camera-based, like, honestly, SLAM is hard to do. And I've always said that, I mean, it says this also in the patents, like all the Valve patents for Deckard, for their tracking systems, it always says they could either use a camera tracking, and they can also use something that's called angle-sensitive detectors, which is a new type of sensor that would be put on headsets, for example. I thought the original plan was the sensors would be the only thing for the tracking, but it sounds to me like the dual tracking mode that was also like added to the code months ago that I've talked about, it seems like they want to combine the camera-based SLAM with a sort of lighthouse-based tracking to get super high tracking refresh rates for super high quality. But the patents have always said you could either use one or the other. Like, so if you don't want to have lighthouses or anything, you could use the SLAM tracking. That seems to be the goal, is to have the option to use one or get greater functionality if you use multiple or whatever preference you want, which is a really cool concept, I think. And now we have to talk about now we have to talk about lighthouses. So before we talk about lighthouses, I need to go back to an old patent, or it's not an old patent. It's actually this was actually awarded to Valve. Awarded to Valve the last right before the new year. This is the patent I always talk about because it's their angle sensitive detectors, which is a new type of sensor which can, I guess, detect only the angle of light to provide better accuracy for tracking. And they use, you know, machine learning and all this crap, and it mentions that. So, and in the patent, they mention that it could either use base stations, or they can also project like infrared light, for example, off a headset or controllers to work with these sensors. And so I was kind of assuming for a while that, well, it's probably more for backwards compatibility is what I figured. Maybe they want to be backwards compatible with, I mean, with Lighthouse 2.0, with the Deckard. And that's what I thought the base stations was for. But then when I was digging, I had to give, I think he's in the chat, but Dan in the chat was talking about, or was also looking through the files with me, and he found something we somehow missed, and I have to show it off. We're not completely sure if this is what it is, but we have to show it off. It's like so important. There might be Lighthouse 2.0 in the works, 3.0 base stations as a possibility. Let me show you what I mean. So if I go to my files, give me a second. Drivers. So you go, I mean, I'm gonna show you where it is because you can literally find it yourself if you want. Go to Lighthouse, go to bin, go to Win64, driver Lighthouse DLL. You can even just open this up in that notepad if you want. So yeah, let's search SRM. Again, this is very open-ended, and I don't want people to assume this is true, but this is what might be true because this is one of the things that were very controversial on whether or not this is it. But I gotta show you this version of the code and an older version of the code. So this is in the current SteamVR, and this just like how we found Deckard POCA, which by the way, if you ever want to go see Deckard POCA, go into drivers, Lighthouse, bin, Win32. Not Win64, but Win32, and you open the same file, and you open driver lighthouse.dll, and you Control F Deckard. Wait, I thought it was in this. Am I wrong? Okay, maybe it's not in this anymore. I swore it used to be. Did I open the right one? Oh, I opened Win64. Okay, no. Sorry, I'm literally taking against my own advice. Yeah, Win32 Deckard. It's still there. They didn't scrub it from the 32-bit binaries. So if you want to look for yourself, it's there. Anyway, yeah, back to Win64. So just like how there's a section for all the HMDs that the Lighthouse drivers support, there's also a section for all the Lighthouse versions, like the base station versions, and it goes all the way back to like super early, like way early prototypes, like Boy, Girl, Robin. I have Robin ones in my room here, and all the way to SRMP, which SRMP is the basically SRMP is the consumer Lighthouse 2.0. I don't know why they're called this, but that's what they're called. They're called SRM. You can go into your SteamVR and make a report, system report, and it'll even call your lighthouses SRM. And then we have over here, frick. We have future model and brand new base. And I don't know why this keeps happening, but screwing me up. And they also say, hey, this base has no factory calibration, blah, 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 blah. So we're like, huh, are they actually making a future model of base station 3.0? And so I started going back into like really old versions of these files, because usually it's a good idea to do that, because you can see when things were added. And we can go all the way back to a 2019. I think it's 2019. We can go to a 2019 file. Let me find it real quick. Hold on. We can go to a 2019 file. I think it's this one. Drivers. I hope it's this one. So if we go to SRIMP, this is not the one. Dang it. This is not the file I was looking for. Hold on. I should have had this ready, man. Man, there was one that only referred to it as prototype, and I'm probably gonna have a lot of trouble finding it now, which I'm really sad. Dang it. Well, basically, there was a version. I have so many builds of SteamVR, by the way, backed up, so it would take forever to find it. But where it said future model and brand new base, it basically only said prototype at that point. Yeah. I'm really sad I didn't have that ready for you. So, like, they did change prototype to say future model and blah, 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 blah. So, is there a possibility they're making a new base station? I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, maybe they are, because there was an old version that had only prototype mentioned, and then they renamed it the future model, and there's like new base or whatever, and like no factory calibration in the code and stuff. So yeah, that's unfortunately all I have for you. What would a new base station 3.0 even do is the question. And again, I want to reiterate the idea that the point is, it seems like Valve is very interested in this idea of having a bare bones experience for every consumer. Like, for example, if you have a built-in camera slam tracking in the headset, you only using pass-through cameras, for example, then people don't have to buy lighthouses, right? And that makes things cheaper. But there are people that like to do stuff like full body tracking and a lot of these other things. So maybe having the choice of a newer base station, whatever it would do, or even the choice of still supporting Lighthouse 2.0 is beneficial for all the different people with the one headset. So I've always believed that the next headset would support both slam tracking through cameras and lighthouses of some sort. Are they using new lighthouses? I don't know. It's like, it's crazy. It's madness. Yeah. Anyway, Wi-Fi base stations. Well, you can already connect the base stations via Bluetooth. Our idea was like, hey, maybe they'll remove all moving parts somehow. Which, you know, the biggest reason that lighthouses die is because there's a spinning motor for the laser sweep. And, yeah, that kind of like, just like a hard drive, it can go out. And that's like pretty much the main reason why lighthouses die. But I don't know how they would do it. But I don't know. I mean, they have all these patents for new angle-sensitive detectors and all this stuff, and like they are clearly still interested in having sort of something giving off either IR or laser sweeps, even though while they're also working on the camera-based slam tracking with Arcturus. So like, I don't know. All right, let's keep going on now. Yes. There is more. If I can figure out where I was at. Where was I at? Yeah. All right, let's talk about distortion. We've talked about this one's really hard to explain because even I'm not completely understanding of it. But they added a new distortion profile in SteamVR, and it actually made me look at this distortion stuff a little bit more because I haven't looked at it before. So when you have a display and you put it up against a lens, it's usually a good idea to have distortion profiles to sort of change like the RGB channels, or like maybe you want to correct for barrel distortion and stuff, and you can do that directly in SteamVR. Mostly only Valve does it though, I think, or at least use these algorithms. And the Index, for example, only supports these. The Index only uses D-Poly 3 and D-Poly 3 scaled. They also use this one, but this is for pass-through cameras. And I just realized when they added D-Poly 4, these are totally new algorithms that's not being used, and it's likely for Deckard. Honestly, I would say that these systems are for Deckard, whatever panel lens system they're using, to get the best actual visual experience. The newest one is quadratic tilt. No idea what that's for. I've talked a lot about how there is like... I talked a lot about how there is... in this one? Yeah. Recently they had support for something called panel clocking. I lost it already. Yeah. So panel clocking angle degrees. There's a patent that Valve patented a couple years ago, where the idea is they would rotate the displays. Instead of being square, it would be like they would rotate it like this to get more FOV, or like that was the idea. And like they actually did sort of add support for that already with clocking angle degrees, and the idea is you would input the program would automatically input the actual degrees or the angle that the displays were canted or tilted. So I wonder if the quadratic tilt polygram is sort of their way to solve any distortion that may be added with that, because again, these are all about lens distortion solvers, basically, if that makes sense. So yeah, they also have panel scale, which is interesting. I wonder what panel scale does. But yeah, these are new things that are in whatever. There's a lot of stuff being added with distortion and like solving distortion. I even believe the shaders that I was talking about earlier, like with the points and the lines, I believe those are all about fixing distortion as well. All these distortion things, crazy. How about, yeah, also Prism, which is the thing we still don't really understand fully what it does. Prism has an error saying that Prism only supports D-Poly 3 and D-Poly 3 scaled functions. But the thing is, that error was put into the files before even the D-Poly 4 stuff was added to SteamVR. So it's possible that internally they might have updated Prism to work with these new distortion algorithms. When basically, my idea is when I see this stuff right here being added, it makes me think they're, again, like they have the panels planned, they have the lenses planned, they're all focused on the software fixing. Like they're not making these, they're not adding these distortion profiles because they're like testing stuff at this point. I think they have a plan for what Deckard is and what displays and stuff they're using for it, and and like all of this, like the shutdown and everything, is all about. It's all about making SteamVR ready for whenever Deckard comes out. Let's see what else they added here. Oh yeah, wireless HMD. I mean, again, we kind of knew that they're very focused on. The idea is they're probably gonna have some sort of Qualcomm chip in it, Qualcomm. And that's purely probably to enable stuff such as wireless, easy wireless PCVR and stuff. And they updated their Just the right one. Yeah. They updated their error. This error has actually not been in the... So this error was added not too long ago. I want to say it was added a couple months ago. And when they first added it, they put it in a placeholder here. This was like a placeholder link that goes to a very old HTC Vive troubleshooting page. But they actually changed what it says, and like they even localized this error for a multitude of different languages as well, which is kind of interesting. Oh wait, no, they didn't look. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they localized it, which is, you know, that's kind of interesting. They just localized something like that. They also updated again, Prism's like a new internal thing in the SteamVR API. And there's a ton of different, like, we can't activate Prism, we can't do anything, so we can't really easily figure out what it does fully. But they also localize or update the localization for the where is it? Yeah, so basically Prism can detect when you need to do a graphics driver update, and they localize that bug. Also, people were saying, because I basically tweeted out this wireless HMD not connecting, they're like, well, if you read the patch notes, Brad, it says that they made it easier for Oculus Link and Oculus Air Link to connect. No, this is not related to that whatsoever. This down here is all related to the Oculus Link stuff. Totally different thing. And what's really funny about this is they added these errors and everything to tell people, hey, this is what you need to do. But they didn't localize this yet. Which is funny because this is the thing they added in the official patch notes for the beta, and it's only in English while they're localizing all the back-end stuff. So I think that's pretty humorous to me. So yeah. Micro OLED, my belief is they're are we really gonna talk about micro OLED again? Because I have been doing a lot of I'm always doing research on this freaking micro OLED crap. Let's make sure that was all the big stuff that I covered though, real quick. Oh, also another thing with the Oculus thing is, with Oculus, if you connect it to the SteamVR and it's not working correctly, SteamVR actually forces you to restart SteamVR. Whereas the new wireless, the wireless HMD thing that's more about, like, SteamVR, it basically assumes, or it's saying that SteamVR is waiting for a wireless HMD to connect. Which I don't think you can do that right now with SteamVR, especially with the Quest 2. Oh, here's another cool thing. Yeah, here's another good one. Frame timing remote. That's another wireless thing. Where'd it go? This is also a new thing. New type of frame timing that would be able to be recorded in the actual frame timing graph in SteamVR. And remote usually means something related to wireless or connected to something. So reports on Deckard's death has been greatly exaggerated. So yeah. Here's the issue. I never believed Deckard was dead. Ever. What I was worried about was the Imagine Optics acquisition made it seem kind of dire. But I kind of been thinking about it more. And I've kind of been doing a lot of more studies on, like, maybe Valve really just didn't care too much about the factories they built with Imagine Optics. Because I see a lot of companies like Gore-Tech, for example, they seem to be very invested as well into all these optics systems that Imagine Optics was doing. Even making a nano imprinting line for lenses, which I got from a Chinese source. So maybe it wasn't as big of a deal as I thought. In fact, I kind of always... So when Valve sued Imagine Optics, the defense from Imagine Optics were, oh, they're trying to run us out of business, basically. And I don't want to say... again, this is all speculation, but So they funded Imagine Optics in 2018 to build a factory, and they were like, hey, we're gonna use your factory to mass produce something. We're gonna sign this master supply agreement, and then all of a sudden they sue Imagine Optics, and then they say we're gonna cancel the master supply agreement like completely. What if it was like, okay, what if there was more to the story than we kind of like? What if we're giving Valve a little too much credit here? Like, what if there was actually another company, maybe in China, that was able to produce lens maybe at better yields or like something do better than what Magic Optics was doing, and then Valve wanted to pull out of that contract, maybe, to because again, producing in China is cheaper than America, by the way, which Imagine Optics factory is in America. So maybe they were just like trying to get out of their master supply agreement because they found something better and like the timing was kind of good and everything. I don't really know, but again, every time I look at all these new code, it just seems like they're really like bam, they're super into getting the software side of the hardware nailed down. So yeah. Okay, let me see if there's any few more things here. They did a lot of updates to make Linux SteamVR run much better, by the way. They fixed a lot of errors. Some of them are more like band-aids, but there was a big fix for Linux SteamVR relating to, I think, TrueType is what it's called. Yeah, so that's cool. I know a lot of people on Linux feel that like Valve has abandoned them for SteamVR, but especially as we're now ramping up to the time where Steam Deck is a month away from launch, pretty much. They even confirmed that they're on track for the end of for first shipments to go out the end of February, by the end of February. And all this other stuff's going on in the background. If you don't follow Linux stuff, like they're using like a lot of VR related updates are coming into what's it called? Frick. KDE Plasma, which is what Steam OS 3 is based on. They're getting a big VR update that allows DRM leasing in February, which will be a big deal because there's a lot of issues with that with SteamVR and stuff. So like it's coming. Better Linux support for SteamVR is coming, even if it's not directly in SteamVR. A lot of the subsystems that are based on Linux is getting better for VR, and I think it's almost guaranteed that they're focusing on these updates because Valve's telling them, hey, DRM leasing sucks in Linux for VR. Can you please get this fixed, guys? We're throwing money at you, please. So yeah. They have the patents for the technology. Yeah, I mean they have the patent applications. We have so much to talk about. Let's talk about like lens patents, by the way, because there was something I kind of posted. Oh, by the way, this is not a new patent, by the way, but it's a new patent. It's an updated. So like usually when technology progresses or like they figure out something more, they will go in and Wait, why is it canceled? What does this mean? Canceled? What? The heck does this mean? Hold up, hold up. Give me a second. I'm gonna go into my spree in a second here. But that made me notice something here. What? Why does it say canceled? What? It says canceled. What the flip does that even? I mean, I know it's an update, but I didn't think they did that. Hold up. I just noticed that now. It's driving me nuts. Maybe they just took out a part they didn't need anymore. I don't know why it says that. Anyway, sorry. It's just, I don't know. One of the claims they canceled. I'm guessing it's because they updated the patent and they didn't need one of the claims in the previous. So this patent was awarded to them, which is all about having the headsets be able to tell the user, hey, you need to shift it up or whatever, and like, you know, you're not getting the best alignment for your eyes to the display. That's what all this patent's about. But they updated it, and I'm guessing that's why it says canceled. They probably just took out a claim that they didn't need anymore because, again, they don't need to reapply for the patent. They just need to apply to update the old patent, and that's what this is. And, you know, I like to... I made a joke about how, like... wait, what happened? My Chrome's dying. Hold up. Oh, okay, here we go. And it said this in the old patent, too. But even in the update, I just like to point out, they said the thing. They said the thing. They said it. They said the thing. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's go to the real patent that I wanted to show off, which was a cool one, I think. It's pretty neat. Just to show you how, like, Valve is really interested in, just honestly, a lot of different lens systems that they've been tinkering with. And one of them was really fascinating to me. This one's really interesting. So, I did a lot of research on it. So, before, Valve was... So they weren't only looking at solid state varifocal, they were also looking at mechanical varifocal lenses too. This is a type of lens system called Alvarez lenses, and basically you can like move them. So when you move them closer together like this, it changes the optical power, and you could even like have each of these lenses have a prescription like built onto them. So there was a point where Valve was looking at using this mechanical varifocal lenses, and what the really interesting thing about this is they were thinking about the concept of if they were going to do this mechanical varifocal, that they would sell a headset shell with all like the displays and everything, and then they would sell housings to put in like a VCR into the headset with these tailored mechanical varifocal lens systems. Yeah, and it was really interesting. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because we're going to talk about Apple in a little bit very soon, because Apple actually posted Apple actually posted or got a patent for a very similar thing, except Apple's patent wasn't... Hold up, freaking A. This is crazy. Okay. Here we go. So Apple had this patent that uses liquid crystal based polymer optics, the same stuff that Valve was looking into. And then they also updated this patent to have the idea of combining the liquid crystal solid state optics with Alvarez lenses, which is the patent from like crazy. Because they were, so Apple was thinking if we combine the liquid crystal optics with these Alvarez lenses, they can even get more optical power, which is crazy. And I was like, man, the timing of when I was looking into this stuff is just crazy. And there's like a lot of like rumors that Valve and Apple were doing a lot of collaboration stuff together for VR hardware. And I see this patent and I'm like, holy frick, guys, come on, man, it's crazy. Valve, Apple again, like it's just insane, like honestly. They also have another version where they would combine liquid crystal optics with fluid filled membrane lenses, which is something Valve tested a long time ago, like 2012-ish. But yeah, crazy. Yeah. Let's talk about Apple real quick, by the way, because Bloomberg, I really want to talk about Apple. So unfortunate news, kind of. This was always a possibility, but I do want to talk about it. So Apple was really, really set on announcing their new headset during WWDC of this year, which is the Worldwide Developer Conference. Unfortunately, more issues are happening with their headset. Oh god. But what's really cool about this article is they got information about the exact problems with the headset and why it's getting delayed. I always assumed that the reason why the headset kept getting delayed were the displays, because it's very known that Apple is going to be using some really good micro OLED displays in their headset. But what this goes on to say, oh, and I can't, what? Well, this goes on to say that the problem isn't actually related to displays at all. It's related to a lot of other stuff, like overheating cameras and probably polishing software. So they're planning to use an M1 Pro or M1 type chip in the headset to be like a super like desktop type powered standalone headset is their plan, because they're using like super high resolution displays, and having a mobile type chip like an iPhone would just not be enough. And yeah, apparently they're having issues with the overheating in the cameras specifically. So when I hear this, I'm like, well, maybe the displays are mass producible already, more than I thought they were. Which it's always been my belief that both Apple and Valve were working pretty closely to get mass production partners for micro OLED displays. So when I read this, I'm like, huh, maybe Deckard maybe Deckard isn't experiencing these problems, because Deckard is likely using like a off-the-shelf Qualcomm chip of some sort. If it's not off the shelf, then it's like maybe tweaked or something, but there's no proof of that. Yeah, crazy. I don't know. Not much else to say about that. It's not canceled. Like, Apple has... So, the thing is with Apple is they have to get into this. They have to get into it. Otherwise, they're just like... It's just... And I want Apple to get into it, like, right away, honestly. Like, I don't even care about Apple products too much. Like, I don't like their ecosystem or anything. But the one thing that I really like about Apple is they're going to push some hardware stuff that is really going to make the industry look at what they're doing and be like, crap. We need to get our act together. Because, you know, you put an Apple logo on anything, people are immediately interested. And, you know, they're doing high-end stuff. Like, all the rumored spec for this headset are really freaking cool from a hardware perspective. And they'll really spur some components that I think are important for VR hardware to be even focused more on. And we're already seeing that with, like, Meta is so I think Meta is so focused on getting Cambria out with mini LED, which is better than LCD, but still like a type of LCD. I think they're getting it out fast as they can, because they've been terrified of the Apple stuff, honestly, because I think Apple is their biggest worry when it comes to competition. They're constantly trying to poach employees from Apple and like all this stuff. Any company that they find out Apple's interested in maybe acquiring, they are like, yoink, we gotta get that before Apple gets it. So like, I think there's a really big Apple fear within Meta, and I kind of like that. I kind of like seeing that. Yeah. Call them Facebook. I actually was originally planning to call Meta Facebook, but I realized if I can make, if anything bad, if we find bad things that they're doing, I want to tarnish the Meta name now, instead of like, I mean, the Facebook name's already tarnished, but like now we gotta work hard to tarnish the Meta name. Will Cambria be worth it? It'll be cool. It will be cool, probably. It'll probably be way better hardware than Quest 2. It's gonna have pancake type lenses. It's using mini LED, which is better. than what Index and Quest 2 is using. Yeah. Isn't the meta name tarnished? But the thing is, people, the way I see it is there's gonna, I mean, it's not anytime soon, but there's gonna be a generation of people that won't even know what Facebook is, like, honestly. They'll know what meta is. They won't know what Facebook is. So if we keep calling something Facebook and say, oh, Facebook is bad, they're not gonna know what it is. But if we keep finding, if Meta does something that's terrible, and we actually use the real name Meta, then, hey, it's back to square one where that name is tarnished now. That's the way I see it now, at least. So, yeah. All right. I think I'm done. I think that's everything I had to talk about today. At least right off the top of my mind. Let's do questions. Q&A. I don't think I'm gonna do another stream for a couple of weeks unless something really big comes out. Like if there's like a really big thing that happens, then yeah, I'll do another stream. But, yeah. Meta Facebook. That I do like to call them Meta Facebook too. Yeah, I like to call them that as well. I don't call them that in tweets because of the. I tend to write really long tweets. I'm always hitting like the maximum character count, so I usually just opt for Meta for that reason. But do you think do I think Apple's headset will work with SteamVR? I think someone will make it work with SteamVR. Either somehow. I don't know. I really do think there is some sort of synergies between Apple and Valve. I just don't know if they're hardware only or there is some software stuff going on. But I really do believe there's synergies between those two companies hardware-wise, 100%. 100%. In fact, that 4K display that I've been talking about, that 4K display that is apparently going to be used in some company's next VR device. Yeah, oh, I don't have it anymore. Well, there's a lot of calls that, like, ever since like late 2017. The 4K design has been something that's been worked on since late 2017, which is insane to think about. And my belief, it was Valve that was really the spearhead for that design. In fact, there's even patents going back to 2016 of their ideas of a 4K by 4K micro OLED. And I think they were showing off these plans to another big company that was like, oh, this is a really cool idea. And according to a conference call, this company was very interested in working together with what I believe is Valve on this display to make like a reference design so that there would be a display that's used, or a common design that's used for a lot of headsets, for example. And like it's around the same time that Apple and Valve were talking with SteamVR support on Mac OS. Like there's so many coincidences that it doesn't even feel like coincidence anymore. It's like actually ridiculous how it just seems so interconnected. Synergy with Valve and Sony. I'm not sure. I think there's some software stuff going on there with Valve and Sony. I'm not sure. The problem is I haven't done too much research on Sony, really. I think it's interesting that Sony did choose to go with OLED. I think there was a very big reason why they chose OLED. Like, I don't think they just chose it for fun, you know? I really think they wanted to be OLED because I think maybe Sony saw that there would be a lot of OLED headsets coming back and they didn't want their PSVR 2 to follow the trend of something last year with like LCD if in a few years everyone's using OLED. So maybe that's why they chose a very interesting OLED panel. Did you eat spaghetti at CES? No. What about PSVR 2 working with SteamVR? I don't know. There's nothing, I can just say there's nothing in the code that would tie Sony in SteamVR. And I really don't think that, I think if there was any deals made with Valve and Sony, I think it would all be software, like getting software on the Steam platform and getting software from the Steam platform on a PSVR 2. I don't think there's like any work being made to get a PSVR 2 hardware working on Steam, because I think that's kind of counterintuitive to Sony's hardware plans, because they want to sell consoles, right? So, do you think Cambria? I do not think Cambria will be business oriented at all. I think it's consumer, 100% consumer, 100% consumer. No, 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 definitely not business. I don't believe that at all. Anyone that says it's business, I think is very off to the point of what these next generation headsets want to do. The idea is to bring mixed reality to consumers and get people to think about AR like first time in masses. I don't think that they're releasing this headset for business use like only. I think that's really I don't even see why Meta would invest in something like that at all. And nothing from it tells me, nothing about it screams business to me, honestly. It screams, hey, we want to. So this is why I see it. And this is the way I think Meta sees it too, a little bit. I think they see Quest 2 as a console, a game console. That's it. It's a game console. It's got some cool features, but really, it's just like it's a kid's toy, like in a way. It's kind of like a kid's toy. Whereas I think Cambria is more trying to be way more multi-purpose, do way more things, way better than the Quest 2, and be still targeted consumers. That's why I think Cambria's point is to show people VR isn't just games. This is what VR and AR with mixed reality can do for consumers. That's what I think Cambria is. That's what I think the Apple headset is too. I think they're both very similar in DNA of what they want to prove to the world. Okay, someone wants to know the difference between OLED, LCD, and LED. So this is so OLED. The way OLED works is each pixel on the panel is using an organic material, but each pixel emits their own light. And there's different ways to do it. Either there's like a pixel that emits a white light and then they put color filters on it, or there's also ways to do OLED that emit red, green, and blue light. And that's why OLED has such a beautiful picture, is because each pixel can line up individually, and the contrast values are amazing. A lot of other benefits. LCD relies on a backplane and a backlight. I meant to say backlight, not backplane. It relies on a backlight, and that's why if you would turn off an LCD TV in your living room, you would see like the LCD material is still kind of like green and lit up, because LCD is relying on backlight. Let's just stick with that, right? A backlight, and it's always lit, so you don't get the contrast value. The entire back screen is lit, and they modulate the liquid crystals to do all the color stuff, basically. And with a polarizer. And then what mini LED is, it's basically LCD with a fancy backlight. Instead of having one backlight that's all on, people have been making smaller LEDs that make up the backlight of the LCD material to get better contrast values. Is it as good as OLED? Heck no. It's not, but it's in some ways cheaper to do, at least especially for big TVs, like, or bigger screens. Mini LED is usually way cheaper than OLED, because big OLED is usually more expensive to make. And then there's micro LED, which this is very confusing because micro LED is different than mini LED. It's not LCD at all. It's more closer to OLED, except it's using non-organic materials, and like it's still way off though in terms of like mass producing at consumer volumes and being cheap. Yeah. Yes. So how come So here's the issue. I wondered this too. Someone's asking why would the Quest 3 have a micro OLED and the Cambria will have mini LED? I'm not sure. I think what it was is because again, I talked about this a lot on my channel, and there was two different prototypes of Cambria. There was one that was called Sea Cliff, which was the one that has the mini LEDs, but there was also a prototype known as Sea Bright, which had micro OLED in it. My guess is either there was not much work being done in the background to secure supply needed for their micro OLED in Cambria, or they pivoted because they were terrified of an Apple headset coming out and they wanted to undercut the Apple headset by being a cheaper option. I'm not sure, but I do think that micro OLED is just the technology that will take over immersive VR headsets. Like I just think it's waiting for that big boom where every fabrication company is like, okay, every headset wants this, we gotta put them in. Yeah. Well, the thing is, I'm not sure. I really don't know. Like, it's very like I can only get information of timelines for a next product after Cambria and what they want to put in it. I cannot get ideas of like what if it is like I don't even know, is it even a Quest 3 at that point, or are they still gonna be like, hey, we want to have more mid-range or something? Like, I'm not sure. Maybe they'll sell Quest 2 for still years. Like, maybe Quest 3 will be more expensive than Quest 2 or something, like, you know, like, I'm not sure. I can only find information that people tell me and say, hey, this is what they're doing. They're building these lines for some product in the future. And I have to fill in the rest, which is kind of hard. Prices and release dates are usually the hardest. Prices are actually literally impossible, actually. Micro LED is the holy grail, but we're not going to see that in VR headsets for a long time. It's only going to be about micro OLED for a while. For VR. I think AR is, like AR glasses, they're going to really benefit from micro LED before VR does, if that makes sense. What's the resolution? The resolution for Cambria is going to be 2160 by 2160 per eye. And the suppliers for those panels are Sharp and JDI, which makes a lot of sense because that's actually the two main suppliers already for the Quest 2. Same LC suppliers. So that didn't surprise me at all. Oh, that's a great question. How will Decker's 10 okay, it's not 10 billion, it's 10,000 nit. It's 10,000 nits. That's a great question. So you won't actually be running the display like that at 10,000 nits, like barely ever actually. The idea is to have a display that can be max 10,000 or a little bit over 10,000, and then run it at 10% of a frame, 10% duty cycle. So 10% of 10,000 is 1,000 nits, and then it goes through optics, which, you know, cut the goal is to get 100 to 200 nits to the eye. And you also have to think about HDR. The 4K display is also rated for 10-bit HDR, which is another thing that Sony's doing, right? They're kind of the first ones that are like really showcasing HDR as a feature for a VR headset, and that also relates to the 4K panel that I think Deckard wants to have. When is Cambria gonna release? According to supply chains, the expectation is summer. Sometime in summer. That's the expectation, but you know, supply chains are very malleable right now. Yeah, micro LED. I'm not like everyone's talking about micro LED like it is awesome technology. Not micro OLED, micro LED. Yeah, but micro LED is just like I think it's like just hyped because it's the new thing, but there's still so many problems with it that I can't really take it seriously yet, or think about it much, except for like using a single color. like every AR glass you see with a micro LED, they're usually using monochrome color. Because like full-on RGB is a complexity for micro LED still. So RPAR is best example for reasons of why brightness is important. Yes, it is. It's a great example. It's the main example. Didn't Meta say that they would not be making the next headsets cheaper than the cost to make this time? Did they? If so, I mean, I believe that. I think Quest 2 really did what they needed to do for adoption of. I think Quest 2 was the main thing with Quest 2 was to get people in their platform, not just consumers but developers. The big idea was, hey, we have this ecosystem we need to build right before Apple releases theirs. So they release a super cheap headset. Got a ton of people to buy it, and when a lot of people buy it, they're looking for software. So that made devs come to the platform. They needed that. Like that was the main goal, to get developers and consumers on the platform early. So then they can start worrying about higher quality things like Cambria and stuff to show people, hey, VR is cool. There's some cool stuff with it. Let's go further. Let's push this further. I don't think Cambria is going to go above 1,000, like, at all. I honestly don't even know if it's going to go over 800. My expectation is like $600, honestly. $600 to $700 is my expectation. But I don't know anything about price. I'm just guessing that. Yeah. Imagine is year 2023 and Valve, Meta, Sony, Apple, and others have released their newest headsets. Which one will be my daily HMD? I'm pretty sure you guys would know which one is probably going to be my daily HMD at that point. Like, I'm pretty sure I've shown a bias to certain things. I wouldn't say less than 100. Oh, well, okay, so here's the thing. The no account Quest 2 was because it was a business Quest 2. And if you know anything about business or like executive stuff, they're not usually selling hardware at cost to businesses either. They're usually selling them at a premium for better support, because businesses that buy these things, they freaking have no idea what they're doing. Like, honestly, they usually like this is not just for VR, but this is for anything. Like, if something breaks, or like they can't figure out how to access a file or how to download something, they can call up a number and get connected to someone immediately, because that's kind of what they're paying for, businesses. So I don't think the Quest 2 is like $800. It's probably, yeah, I don't know what it is, but. Do you think they sell Quest 2 at a loss? I think, yeah, probably a little bit, because there's more to. Hey, thank you, Virtual Rifle Systems, for $100. I can now eat food. Thank you. I totally forgot what I was saying. That's what money does to people. I totally forgot. What's the best VR to get right now for relatively cheap? Well, I mean, obviously Quest 2 is like the answer. Like, you know, I say this all the time, but people are always asking, should I get an index right now? And I'm the worst person to ask, because I'm very jaded, I guess. Like, I use my index daily, but I really don't want to. Like, I really want something better, but there's nothing still that just does everything. It doesn't have the high quality audio. It doesn't have the high quality microphones. It doesn't have the freaking pisses me off. That's why I want Deckard now. Please, God. The thing with Quest 2, like when you think about how cheap it is, you also have to like factor in like R&D costs, the cost to keep factories going. It's not just the parts cost, you know. I think with the parts cost, it's probably not that far off from 300, but like everything else is so expensive per unit. So that's where probably the selling at a loss comes in more. I mean, Quest 2 is like a great intro headset for people. That's like their first headset. I don't use it like ever. But like it's a good headset, right? Like I don't think any like the hardware, everyone would agree, right? The hardware in the Quest 2 is just good. Like they did good with it. Even though it's like low end or whatever. It's just good hardware. But it's still not everything I need for a daily driver. Especially since like I don't like dealing with you know, people might think I'm crazy. But I think even when Deckard comes out with wireless, I'm going to be I'm probably still gonna want to use wires. like I know the wire is annoying, right? But you know what's more annoying to me? I have an insane hatred for batteries and charging things. Like it's actually to the point where I literally so I have six index controllers because I have prototypes from before the index came out and like all this stuff. I got a lot of controllers. I will not charge them until everything is just drained because I hate plugging stuff in. Like I don't know what's wrong. I have like a weird mental thing. And like when you add a headset in the mix, I'm just like, you know, I rather just have a wire. Battery bank? Well, that doesn't really but when you have a battery bank, I mean, yeah, you can attach a battery bank to your head, but I'm also very picky on comfort too. I'm just a picky person. I'm not gonna like I'm a picky person. But like before, like even with the Vive wireless, which was with the original Vive, the Vive wireless was great. Like it was pretty freaking cool. I used WiGig 1. It was great for the original Vive, but when you got to like the higher resolution Vive Pro 2 or like the Vive Pro and the Vive Pro 2, it becomes pretty unusable. But even with that, you had to run a wire to a battery pack in your pocket. And then like you still had a wire at that point. So I don't know. I like cutting down the weight of my headset. I guess I just don't mind the wire, honestly. I don't mind it. Yeah. Maybe something will change my mind in the future, but I just don't yeah. What are your VR sickness tips? I don't know. I haven't had VR sickness in a while. Like the first year I did VR, I had a little bit, but not much. I'm like very immune these days to it. The first day I've tried VR, let me tell you the story about it. I've told this story before, but like I really like this story. My first time I ever tried VR was, you might actually find this crazy too. I won a contest. This was back in late 2015. They did a contest. And this was when only this was still announced, by the way. The old HTC Vive dev kit. They were saying, hey, we're going to do a SteamVR developer showcase in January of 2016. And if you win the contest, you would get to come to this private event and then also get a Vive prototype to bring home. And I've never tried VR before, actually, until this night. This was like the first time I really spent a lot of time in VR. and they had they had stress level 0, they had eye illusions, like job simulator dev, like all the devs, most of the devs that were here, they went on to be still like the main devs you see today. And it was just like few hours of just trying VR with the HTC Vive Pre, it was called at the time. And it was my first night of VR, and SteamVR and a lot of the applications I was trying that night still had some bugs, we'll just say. So like sometimes I would just fall through the floor and be falling forever in a headset, and I would be getting so sick. I actually had to walk to the bathroom during this event and puke in the bathroom of the SteamVR Developer Showcase. I left my puke DNA at one of the most... at the only Valve VR event they've ever held. So, yeah, my DNA is literally within Valve VR history. Even though it's puke. So, yeah, I love it. But it was such a cool experience. I wish they would do something like this again, even though it's very unlikely with COVID and stuff. But like, this was just such a cool way to show off not only just the hardware, but they got to show off like just the best software at the time. That was just such a cool event. Yeah. Puke that changed the... But like, this was the night where my life literally changed. Like, seriously. Even though I was getting very nauseous and sick and I puked, like... it was the night where I realized this is amazing. Like, this is something I think needs to be pushed on people. Yeah. The beginning of Sadly It's Bradley, pretty much. Yeah. Just gotta exercise those VR legs. And this was also like at the time, like the Vive. The headsets these days are way harder to get motion sick, I think, than the ones back then. For multiple reasons, but yeah. Like, as hardware gets better, the motion sickness problem gets also better for people. Not fully, but it does improve slightly. Your first game was Boneworks? You freaking mad lad. Holy frick. There was when I was trying Boneworks the first time when it released, and I was already a seasoned VR veteran at that point. I think like a zipline thing like really made me feel weird. Which was very strange. I don't remember why. I think it was because my arm got attached to the zip line that was pulling me up in Boneworks, and it was like the arms are like stretchy when you're hanging off stuff, and I couldn't get the arm off, so I was trying to shake the arm off of the of the moving zip line. But all that was doing was making my head do this, like in the VR world. So that made me feel a little bad. But yeah. Oh, hi Lucas. Yeah, Boneworks is a nauseating experience for some people, even for me. And yeah, but it's I think Boneworks is cool because it does things that, I mean, I don't explain why Boneworks is cool. Everyone knows why Boneworks is cool. Yeah. I think Zenith you won't have issues in. By the way, Zenith is really cool. I really like that game. I booted it up for a little bit yesterday because there's the final beta for that game just started. And this was the first time I saw the starting area, and it's freaking God, it's so gorgeous. The music too, like, wow. I couldn't believe, I don't have the video right now, I think. But I literally could not believe how nice the starting area was. It like hit everything that I liked about games and art design, and it's beautiful. Wait, wait, hold up, what? Are you serious? No way. No. No way. Oh my. Oh boy. Oh boy. By the way, you know how? Okay, let me just rant. Imagine Optics, right? Imagine Optics, the company that I still don't know the details of it, but I always felt it was very strange that so Meta has been very like forward, right, with all their acquisitions. Like they would announce it like pretty loudly and proudly. Imagine Optics, we don't know how long they acquired it. It was totally silent. It was a bizarre thing, like totally bizarre. And even when it took a person from the information to reach out to them, and that's when they finally confirmed to the information that yeah, they bought Imagine Optics. And that alone was like very weird to me. Also, what pissed me off is like no one covered it. No one, no VR journalist websites or anyone covered the fact that Meta purchased Imagine Optics, which is a I've been doing so much research on this company, and I saw that not only just Meta and Valve were interested in this company, some very big people in the research labs at Microsoft are in this company. It's a very well-known company in the industry, and it was not covered by anyone that it was acquired. Drove me nuts, but it was just so secretive, and like it made me feel like they were trying to hide it. As if they knew that there was some antitrust stuff going on. And if it was true that Valve was trying to get out of Imagine Optics and their patents out of Imagine Optics because Meta was trying to acquire them from under their nose, then yeah, that is like, oh, that's Omega. That is Omega antitrust crap right there. Like I can't even think of, like, if that story is true, like I can't even think of a more antitrust concept than that. But wow. Crazy. Attorney generals from New York, Tennessee, and North Carolina. Bro, seriously. North Carolina is where Imagine Optics is, guys. Holy frick. Holy, I am on mega copium right now. North Carolina. Wow. That's freaking insane. That could be just coincidence, but holy crap, dude. That's crazy. But they're only talking about, so let me understand. According to Bloomberg, so let's go to Bloomberg. Anti-competitive practices. That's freaking insane. I can't believe it. Wow. Holy crap, dude. I have literal goosebumps right now. Wait, where did it say? Outside developers? Didn't say. Oh, third-party developers. I think they mean like indie devs, though, probably. I would guess indie devs. Dang, this is insane, bro. Like, I can't believe, I didn't think we'd I really thought the FTC would be really stupid and ignore this VR stuff going on. Like, they were only focusing on the Instagram, Facebook crap, and I thought they would be, like, way too late for them to even notice this VR stuff is a big deal. They are absolutely doing anti-competitive practices. They've been doing day freaking one when they pretty much scammed Valve. It's crazy, actually insane. Valve is an indie dev. Yeah, it's not about hardware acquisition. Well, the thing is, we don't know how far this reaches. I don't even want, like, at this point, just the fact they're looking into this is insane. They're using their, I mean, they're using its market power in the VR space to stifle competition. I really can't believe we're actually here. I did not expect it. And it's Mike Grubman who's reporting it. This is so sick. We're just gonna end the stream here. I want to end off on a high note. This is such a cool. Oh, that's so sick. This is so sick, dude. Like this is awesome. Oh man. Freaking crazy. I know the Your Fit guy has some things that... Well, the thing is, most developers, I would say, would have things to say about it privately. They might be very publicly supportive of Meta and stuff, but I guarantee a lot of developers are just as pissed about Meta than they might say. So, but like, I want to know more. I hope they... I hope the Imagine Optics thing gets studied so we can figure out the story, the full story behind it, man. It's crazy. That's freaking crazy. Can't believe it. Guy... I see our virtual desktop developer in here. Very nice. Anyway. That's it. Thanks everyone. This was a great stream. I hope it was good. There's a lot of information. Kind of, but it was... Yeah. This is so cool. I'm so happy, man. Alright. Bye everyone. Bye. I'm so happy. Screw freaking Zuckerberg, dude.